Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Keisha Clement and Andy Serling, and for a rare time, you get not only turf racing, but there's some pretty interesting races on today's card. I think there's some really wide open races
I know.
today.
I got a little bit nervous because I'm like the black cloud of Talking Horses when I don't get to talk about turf racing. And when I left Aqueduct yesterday, I mean, the sky was black.
It's
but
so
luckily,
weird.
it did not last long.
It was weird. We were up here, and you were downstairs, and it looked like it was
bright
ominous.
and sunny,
So I went
and then giant cloud.
I got my umbrella and I went outside. It was sunny out.
I
don't know what
know.
happened. But anyway, I think we had some rain in the city.
Yes.
I don't think it
Yeah.
necessarily hit
don't
here.
think
But
as much.
regardless, we're fast and firm and
Yeah.
it's warm. It's actually an absolutely beautiful day.
It is.
So a
Not
lot of,
as humid as yesterday, which is nice.
lot of
Yeah.
people heading to the, take the subway out today? Or did you?
Yeah, I did the subway.
A lot of people heading to the beach.
Yes.
I was kind of jealous.
Me
I have
too.
to admit.
Me too.
Anyway, we've got 9 to talk about, fast and firm. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member, use the promo code bonus200, and we will match up to $200 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. As also playing through Naira Bets, you can play in the contest. I think you still have until post time today for the feeder contest day, $40. But tomorrow, $300 buy-in, cash and seat prizes. You know the drill. Get all the info at nairabets.com/contest. Only way to play this contest is to play it through Naira Bets. Eddie's favorite part of the show, the Cross Country Big Five, 3 at Monmouth, which we're not showing, right? I think we're...
No.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're showing any of these races, but there is a
We're
Cross Country
showing
5
3 and 4.
from Monmouth, right? And from
Yes.
here, we're showing 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Because we are only on from 2:30 to 3:30 today. Keisha and I will be handling Prattles before the show. Greg and Maggie will be handling the Prattles after the show. But just an hour today on FS2. We'll be back with our full coverage both tomorrow and Sunday. Race number 1. I want to talk about the race that they ran in, and there's 3 horses coming out of that race. And obviously Street Sue is the one that ran the best. We'll watch the race, though. But the horse that I would take out of this race, I can't speak for you, would be the number 5, Prince of Broadway, who sort of steadied back after the start. And I thought at least made a little bit of a run, all things considered here. I didn't see much from the Cassie runner in this race. I don't have a problem with Street Sue, except that she was probably cranked up for the first time. And if I was going to take somebody out of this race, it would be Prince of Broadway, who I put second.
Yeah, I think that's fair. To be honest, of the ones that had run, I wasn't totally in love with any of them.
That's fair.
In large part because Vernon Valley, for Mark Cassie, who won the race, was incredibly green in doing so. And then she came back and she was no more professional in the Astoria in her next start.
Ran the same figure, I think,
Ran
right?
the same figure. She finished 3rd. And to be fair, I do think the horse that won that race was very impressive for Larry Ravelli. But I wonder how good overall a group, it's very early in the 2-year-olds thus far, and I thought, and I think you took the same one, that this would be a race that I'd be more interested in a first-time starter.
I agree. Now, it was hard for me not to pick Ned Allard's horse, Louisa.
I know.
I think it was interesting. Irad's riding this horse.
Actually going to be
because
Junior Alvarado.
it's Junior, not Irad. Is
late,
Irad not riding here, or is he just
late
off this
change.
horse? I hope Irad's not off all day. Is he? Probably not. Anyway, we'll find out.
Yeah.
We both went to the one. I guess we're just taking George Weaver. And this horse has a
Yeah.
big pedigree.
I don't think Irad's supposed to be riding today, actually.
Oh.
Is he serving a suspension or something?
Now, I
don't
know
We'll get
one
back
of the
to
things is that, like, some guys, like Pratt's riding earlier, they were expecting to go to Penn National,
Yes.
and for the 37th time, they've had to delay it.
had
Their
to
course must be
reschedule.
really
Yeah.
waterlogged.
Yeah, it's weird, too, that they've just pushed the race completely. They're not redrawing or anything.
Oh,
either.
okay.
So,
Well, those
yeah.
are, because it's takes. So that's why some of the riders aren't
Right.
here. I don't know what the story is with Irad. We'll see if we can find out, obviously. But you've taken the one, Ella Grace with
Yes.
me. Just half the running son of a gun.
Yeah.
George Weaver. I don't know. Even the one that didn't get bet last week in the 2-year-old race ran a good second. It just
I
seems like his
know.
2-year-olds always run.
He's really sharp with 2-year-olds. This one started training down in Florida, came up, had a gate workout up at Saratoga 2-back. I always like when it's a gate workout 2-back and then kind of a maintenance work coming into the race. I liked the work pattern for that. By Nyquist. I know is have to my Conquistadori, who was turf and synthetic, but she was very precocious as well.
She won
and
the
then
Alcibiades, right?
She did.
On
Actually,
synthetic.
she won the Alcibiades on synthetic, and she won the summer against the boys in her first start.
That's right. Now,
Yeah.
she's the one that won the Alcibiades, and it got a really ridiculous race call, as though she
Oh, I
had
don't
some
remember that.
terrible trip.
Yeah?
Yeah, I remember. I'm sure some other people remember it, where
I have to go back and
it
watch
wasn't
that.
a bad trip at all.
Yeah.
And there's something about the call
Yeah.
and her trip in
I
that
have to
race.
go back and watch that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but she was precocious, and then Running Son of a Gun, who obviously was a good dirt horse, and he
Still a good dirt
certainly
horse.
he was a horse that had a lot of longevity on the track.
All right, we'll see what happens in race number 1. There's a McKinsey for Kenny McPeak on the
Mm-hmm.
far outside as well. Race number 2, I thought race number 2 was a very, very fun race, and obviously some of the guessing is the distance. And let's start out by showing the race that many of these come out of, and I highlighted the second and third horses, A Bourbon for Toby, named for Toby Sheets, and Mayor of Midnight. I thought Mayor of Midnight had a very good trip. I thought that Bourbon for Tony had a very good trip. I want Royals Pride out of this race. Royals Pride broke about a length slow in here, was very wide on the second turn, was actually running a bit at the end in a race where they weren't doing a lot of running from behind. And if I'm going to take anybody out of this race, especially to get better with distance at Dubowie, I'm going to take Royals Pride to finally get his act together with his big pedigree, and he's the one that I wanted from this race. You obviously felt a little bit differently than I did.
No, I had Royals Pride in third. I thought that was a horse that certainly was intriguing coming back. I did think A Bourbon for Toby ran very well that day, and he's this big, lanky horse. I think he's actually improved, getting a chance to get some more distance, and they put blinkers on him last time, which resulted in him being more forward. So I thought those were the two that I did prefer in there, but I was really interested in Spun, who I know you have some interest in as well. I just am really intrigued to see this horse stretch out. He was off slowly last time out. He actually kicked in really late in the race, like he was finally starting to figure things out. It seemed like a kind of Bobby Robato work in progress.
Well, you know, I've got him second too, and I needed him for third in his debut. He's got a big pedigree.
He does.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a tough beat at all. It's just, I don't know. The problem that I have is that I get suckered into a lot of Bobby Robato horses, or have over the years. In fact, it's one thing
This
I
might
look
be
back on
another
with
one.
Anthony. Anthony gave me a hard time at the show one day and said, "You pick every Bobby Robato horse," and he was right. And I realized that it just seems like he doesn't win a lot of races. Terrific guy, terrific trainer, but they don't win a lot, and a lot of them just kind of draw you in. And I agree. I think Spun is very interesting in this race, but I don't know. I'm not
He very
convinced.
well could be one of those horses that just suckers you in a little bit.
Yeah, no,
so
I
we'll see.
agree. I think this horse has some talent, too. I'm not, obviously, I have the horse second,
Yeah.
but I went in a slightly different direction. Thought this was an interesting race
is.
at a mile and 3/8, and Faithful Lightning will take some money in here. I don't know. I mean,
didn't think he did much running last time.
I didn't either, and I don't know what it is. I mean, I know he's a Tappet, but are we really so confident that he's a horse that's going to want a lot more distance? Maybe from Tappet he gets it, but it's not like he was finishing last time.
Yeah, agreed.
We'll see what happens in race number 2, race number 3. Now, I think I kind of guessed that Beautiful Thief, even though I put her on top of it, because I'm assuming that she's caught up in the quarantine.
Yes.
So
she probably
I
is.
mean, you don't know for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
I
George
don't
may
know
have
what
horses in
barn
different
she was
barns
in,
or different
but
things.
she's been based at Belmont, which,
Right.
you know, like George's 2-year-old in the first race was at Saratoga.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, I'm sure you
Yeah.
had the same thought.
Yep.
And let's start the conversation with your horse, Carrie, because I think she's a really interesting horse to talk
Yes.
about here. And I think, in a way, I'm going to take the opposite opinion, but I get
Okay.
why you're picking her. We'll talk about it.
Well, I think she's interesting because A, she's cutting back in distance. She's much more of a sprinter. B, this is the first time in a really long time that she's in against New York breds, and she is in for the tag, which is what makes her eligible for this race coming in. But, I mean, she's been running against very tough company in open allowance races and stakes races as well. She's well traveled. She's been pretty consistent throughout too. I just thought she was intriguing getting back into New York bred company for the first time in a while, and I think she's dirtied up with some of her recent form.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. She can absolutely win this race. I mean, there's
I don't
no
completely
question.
trust
If you
her, to be
right,
fair.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you say everybody in here is going to run their best race,
Yeah.
she's probably going to win. The problem is, I thought she had some pretty good trips when she won.
She did.
And
She likes to run on the inside.
she does
as
like to
well.
run inside of horses. And with all due respect to Mike Maker, I'm not sure how much I want horses that got good for Joe Sharp. And my problem is the race down at Gulfstream at 5 furlongs. I mean, she
never
couldn't
ran.
even keep up.
No.
And okay, she wasn't going to win the Caress. Obviously, she's not as good as those horses, but she was basically eased in there. So she's got 2 races where she didn't do any running, and I'm just kind of wondering if the battery's gone dead, if she just can't really run anymore. It's funny, I was almost texted Jordan Wyckoff about her, who I'm friends with. I just didn't really want to get his opinion to cloud what I was thinking about it. You know what I mean? I'd rather handicap. I'm not. And he's a friend, and I hope she runs well. I think you have to. You don't have to choose a side, but I'm going to choose. You're choosing the positive side. I'm choosing the negative.
Okay.
And I wonder what price she's ultimately going to be in here. I'm not going to be shocked if she ends up being the favorite.
Well,
with the
especially
scratch.
with the scratch,
Right.
Beautiful
Because
Thief. It's
you-
wide open, I
Right.
think, as to who ends up the
Is
favorite
Marco
now.
T really going to be favored in this race? A horse that
I
is
don't know.
pace dependent, that doesn't really like to
She
win,
is.
that's never run that well. I mean, she can win. We both got her third, but is she really? Because I think the thing that Carrie has is she has those races that make her the
Yeah,
best
she
horse in the
does.
race.
She does. She does. Marco T is a closing sprinter, which is tough. And especially, one thing about Beautiful Thief is that she was a horse heavy forward as well in these races. And so, yes, I do think that the pace is a little bit murky for a turf sprint. There really isn't a ton of pace signed on in this race. And so that is the Achilles heel for Marco T. She's been ready to run for a while, just keeps getting rained off, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the second horse we both have second, Weekend Rags.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is, okay, she was in a much better field last time, and maybe that's just it. But she was facing tigers down at Gulfstream.
She was. And in those turf sprints, 2 and 3 back in those stakes, and she was running against really tough horses who are also those 5/8 turf specialists, which I
Yeah.
think that she's better coming up back up here to New York and getting out a little bit to the 6, I think suits her well. And she's another one that hasn't been against New York breds in quite a while.
Yeah, and they could also, though, make the argument that she kind of got good down at Gulfstream at 5 furlongs, that her
That's fair.
races here aren't that fast. I'm taking a shot with B and Betty, and I'm not feeling like I'm standing on solid ground. But I want to show her New Year's Stallion Series, the last 6 furlong race she ran in, because I think it's a better race than it looks. And I know I've sort of chased around Cholo shot out of this race, but the thing about it is that she's in the 2 and 3 path the whole way. And this was a time when the rails were down, and the rail was an incredible advantage. And the horses that ran 1-2 spent almost the entire time on the rail. The winner sort of angled out late while she was chasing outside. And I know she's done okay going longer, and she did pretty well in her last 2 starts, especially from a figure standpoint. I'm not convinced she's not a horse, a weekend hideaway, that might not be more of a turf sprinter. And I thought in this race, which I think is just a mosaic of horses that can win, I'm going to take a shot that she's really more of a sprinter. We'll see.
I think that's fair. For what it's worth, in my notes, I've always written down that she's built more like a sprinter.
There you go.
But she did actually run, I thought, really well, all things considered, last time out.
I agree.
She's coming in off the layoff. I wondered if this was kind of a starting point, but I think you can absolutely make some cases for her. I think she has ability for sure.
I thought she'd be a bit of a price in here. And this is, if Beautiful Thief is in here, you had a horse that was way the horse to beat.
Absolutely.
Without her, you've
It's
got a
wide
lot of
open.
horses that can win. And I get the argument for Carrie. I'm just choosing to take a different tact in here. Race number 4. We'll break after 5. Well, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this one. If we're wrong, we're wrong. But we'll
Yep.
take a look at Mr. Papa Giorgio, who I bet last time, and boy, they knew Top Gun Rock was going to win. I don't know, Acacia, if he loses this race, I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
I know. And that was the biggest thing, too. I think you look through and your first inclination is, okay, well, he ran Gaudy Buyer speed figure last time out. Can you try to go against him? Maybe he's a bit vulnerable today. But then you start to look through the rest of the field and you say, well, if I'm not picking this horse, I don't know where else to land. And he was digging in. He got passed by Top Gun Rocket. Top Gun Rocket came back to win again with an 83 Buyer speed figure. So I thought, I'm curious your opinion, but I thought it kind of validated what that race was.
I agree, and I don't
Yeah.
think it's some sort of muddy track thing, because he didn't run
No.
well in the mud the time before that. He's run good figures. I mean, even if he regresses back to those figures in the 70s,
Yeah.
he's supposed to beat this field. I'm not trying to beat
No,
him.
me
If
neither.
if he loses, I'm going to lose as well. Race number 5. I am not confident in race number 5.
No,
And
me neither.
We'll start with Cut the Cord. I think we're going to show the race in January, finishing second. And the one thing to say about Cut the Cord is he has run the better races at a mile and an eighth.
Yes, he was the one that I thought was most convincing at the distance. Read an article on DRF from Jeremiah Engelhart, so with some quotes in there saying that he had a race picked out for him Belmont Stakes weekend. Unfortunately, this was a horse that was affected by the quarantine then.
Right.
So they've been working him, and this is coming back kind of the alternate spot, but he thought that this actually looked like an even better field for him to face because he does have those distance races, even though he's coming in off the bench.
Yeah, I don't have any argument against him at all. I honestly, as we go to Mighty Atlas and Dr. Kraft, and I'll tell you something, Dr. Kraft actually didn't run that badly last time in a mile and eighth against Bank Frenzy.
And I don't think that he looks like a mile and eighth horse at all.
I'm not convinced he is either, but from a figure standpoint, he ran a big number.
He did.
Now, Mighty Atlas has run okay at a mile and an eighth. I'm wondering if he is a little bit better. He finished well behind Cut the Cord a mile and an eighth. But I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's not Sandy Goldfarb, it's Mike Dubb, but I just sort of went to this horse maybe moving forward off the claim for Brad Cox.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
I think that's incredibly fair. And he is a horse that has in kind of far back, yes, he was well beaten by Cut the Cord, but he has a couple of races, those 2 mile and an eighth tries, that are solid enough to give you encouragement that he should handle it, and he has some speed as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to see him forward with Ricardo. I
agree.
don't agree with the pace projector here. I know that My Last Mission probably is the fastest horse in this race. I don't know if he's going to have such an easy time in a mile and an eighth clearing both Cut the Cord and Mighty Atlas, because I think both of them are going to be ridden enough out of the gate that they're going to make his life a little tougher, and I wonder if he gets the lead, if he has to go too fast. Palace Boss is kind of the wise guy horse. He looks like the improving horse, a big blowout win last time, but that was a race where the favorite failed to show up and the others were just awful.
They were, and I thought it was a pretty hungry field that he faced that day. Also, it's not easy to go through your conditions quickly like he did. Broke his maiden, then came right back to win the 1X, and now he's got to face the second level allowance horses that have a lot of back class, have a lot of races to go. So I feel like he's the one that, yes, he's won 2 races, but he's kind of up against it today as he goes through.
I agree. I was laughing looking at his third career start when he finished second, beating 3/4 lengths at almost 17-1. And I bet him that day because Bob John Ray is running, I think, on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And his form after that race
awful.
just completely went in the toilet. And I'm looking and thinking, I can't believe this horse beat me that day. How did that happen? I think it was Chad Brown, too, who beat me that day. Anyway, that's the first 5. We'll be back with a very, very interesting 6th race where there are a lot of ways to go. Be back after a quick break.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
We're back, Acacia and Andy, for race number 6, where...
Oh, I can make fun of you for picking Bobby Robato here.
There you go. Well, here you go. All right, since you started the conversation, I'll start with this horse. Well,
I picked him
at
first.
least this horse is 15-1
Yes,
morning line.
yes.
Well, I recommend people going back and watching this horse's debut on the turf. First of all, this horse has a giant turf
Huge
pedigree.
pedigree.
Was the dam trained by John Sheriff's? I feel like she
might
broke
have
her
been.
maiden
She's a
here at
great
9-1
stakes
with Rajiv on the turf at Aqueduct.
Interesting.
Take a look.
Let's see.
There's some Sheriff's horse I know I won that Rajiv rode first time on the turf. It's a very, very strong.
Her first time on the turf, she won, but it was Franco.
Okay, was it at Aqueduct?
It was at Aqueduct, yes.
Mile?
A mile and
Was she
16th,
9-1?
yielding. She was 9-1.
Yeah, okay. So I had it was a better rider than Rajiv.
Rajiv.
I'm sorry, it was a better rider than Rajiv.
Rajiv rode her at Belmont
Okay.
the following June, but he finished 4th. that
Yeah,
day.
no,
Yeah.
I you know, watch her first race and draw your own conclusions. I thought this horse, and you probably watched, was really green and kind of wide and just
off
all over the
slow.
track, right? Broke slow, just all over the place, and looked to me like a
like
horse that had
bewildered.
no idea what he was doing out there. They tried in the slop, they left the horse and he can't run in the dirt, ran to Captain Cook. Now, I mean, let me put it this way. Who do you love in this race? Who do you look at this race and
know.
say, this is the horse to
This is
beat?
a wide
This is a
open race.
wide
Yeah.
open race. I mean, you're taking a horse, and we'll segue to your horse, who you don't know if this horse is a turf horse.
Nope. It's a big question. He's run well on synthetic. The bottom side, there's not a ton of turf
That was my
pedigree to
problem.
sink your teeth into, which I agree.
It's
My biggest
Connect,
thing,
who's not much of a turf stallion.
right. But I've seen a couple that can handle it. Try to get this horse on the turf last time. My biggest thing was that he has speed, and obviously Mike Baker is keen to get him on the grass because he's trying again, even though he ran well on the dirt last time out.
Well, he can't run in the dirt because he stinks in the dirt,
Right.
and there's no synthetic yet around
No,
here,
not
thankfully.
yet,
But
yeah.
I also wonder about the pace. And there's a lot of talk. The rails came out 12 feet. My friend Steve was saying to me, I think the rail was very good on the inner. My friend Steve was making the argument, and I respect his opinion a great deal, that the rail was really strong on the outer two. I'm not sure it wasn't more circumstantial.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's wrong. I'm on the fence about it. And isn't this horse Quando going to go? And I want to go back to Quando's race. The last race this horse ran the turf at 6 furlongs, and I know credit-worthy it turns out is a dirt horse, but this was a pretty good field this horse was running in. And I know he had a pretty good trip. He was on the rail. He had a smidgen of trouble, but overall good trip. But I know I keep talking about Quando going back to him, but maybe he's really more of a turf horse, and maybe he's more of a turf sprinter.
I know.
Because this race was actually pretty good.
I know. He's a tricky
can't pick him on
horse.
top.
He's a tricky horse because he's had so many chances, but he's only run 3 times on grass and only once sprinting on the turf. I looked at him for such a long time, and I ended up not using him in here because I was intrigued by a few others. But I kept going back to him, and I do agree with you. I wonder if this just might be the right place. I feel like he's just, for me, no matter the surface, no matter the distance, he's a little bit tough to trust
just
as far as
loses.
getting the job done.
Well,
Yeah.
he was awful last time.
I know.
He had a very good trip last time. I'm sure he's a frustrating horse for Bruce, but because he has talent.
He does.
But I think if you want to take the optimistic approach with him, a 7-2 morning line. I would never bet him at 7-2 in here. So right away that makes him unappealing. But if you want to be optimistic, just say, well, let's just look at his 3 turf race in isolation. And I think arguably he ran really well in the sprint, and he ran against better horses, so he can't be ignored. And I think it's worth maybe going through the field a little bit. There's a lot of pedigree for Hot Lead.
Yes.
The problem with Hot Lead, if you like this horse, is you get Benny the Waiter. And I'm not saying Benny the Waiter can't win. I don't know. I'm not sure he's that good.
I know. Hot Lead is interesting. Yes, has a big pedigree. I actually sold at the Arcana Breeze Up sale.
Were you there?
No, I was not there, but I did watch the video.
Oh, I'm sure you
Yes.
did. And?
Yeah. So they don't time it like the OBS 2-year-old sales, but the 2-year-old Breeze Up sale there, they work on the turf. And I mean, I'm would have to go back and watch more because I'm just not as familiar with those sales as I am the sales here. But it seemed to me like he was really asked throughout that. But they work on the turf, which
What did
is
he sell
nice.
for?
He sold for the U.S. equivalent of just under $270,000.
Okay, well, that's a pretty reasonable
Yep.
amount, especially for a horse
But
with
he has
somewhat.
been gelded. He debuts as a 3-year-old. He's got a lot of work.
And he's part of an entry. So if
He's
you want
part
to
of an
bet him, you've
entry.
got Benny the Waiter. And not that Benny the Waiter can't win, because he can win.
can.
I didn't want to take this entry at a short price.
Mm-hmm.
As far as spiced up for Bill Mott, I don't know. It's not a
I know.
big turf pedigree,
Another
is
horse
it? I
that
know
I
it's
looked at
Juddmonte.
for a long time trying to make a case for, and ended up moving on to some others.
Barn's very live, though. I mean,
Yes.
Bill's Barn, he
Everything
is
is running.
absolutely on fire in here. I looked at, well, let's just keep sort of going through Red Miller. Red Miller actually has a smidgen
does.
of pedigree in here and could be a
The
wild
Comas
card if
can
you want.
handle it.
Yeah.
Comas are good sprinting on the
What
turf.
about Noguchi?
This one is a huge pedigree, though it's largely dirt.
I
He's
go
have
following
to-
C.
Following C. There is one foal in the family who ran on turf, and that was Refuel, who was a turf sprinter, stakes place, and won on the grass. But it's largely a dirt pedigree, and the authentics, the ones that I've seen, I do turf, but a lot of them want to go longer.
2 for 25 with turf
know.
sprinters. This is a small sample. This was
That's why I wonder
one
about
where
sprinting.
I actually considered, and I actually haven't spoken to Chad in a couple of weeks, I don't think, but I was going to ask him, is this one that he sees something turfy about the horse, or if the horse just doesn't show him
'Cause
anything on the dirt?
Often when Chad does this, when the pedigree is the other way, it's often a good sign.
I agree.
You know? So, but I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Private Flight doesn't have much pedigree in here. Got Stripes for Cherie has a ton of pedigree,
Yes.
but it's all
You-
routes.
All
and
distance.
I
and
mean,
cutting back.
this horse just kind of blot his way around the track,
Yeah,
didn't he?
He didn't really run much. He was off slow. He was in a little tight, but then he didn't kick on at all.
I respect Cherie and thought about this horse more just out of respect for Cherie. This is a fun race,
It
and
is.
maybe it ends up chalking out, but I think there are some opportunities in here. Race
agree.
number 7. I actually picked the race 4-1 because my assumption was that Linda would scratch the 4. I knew the 6 was coming out. There's an eligibility thing, I think, with that horse. We'll take a look at Workaway. I'm going to tell you something. When you look back, if you were to do a year-end review of horses that won at short prices, he might have been she might have been the overlay of the year at even money against
I
that
know.
field, given her trip first time. I think this horse might be okay.
She was off slow and awkward first time out. She was really tough to handle in that race. Then she came back and she looked like she was just heads and tails above what she was facing in that group, and she ran like it as well. She'll be interesting. Now, it was a wet track first time. I think she might have a much better feel first time than she did second time
She had a
out
crazy
as
trip,
well.
too, first time.
And, yeah, she did. Like I said, just really tough to handle, and she was far more professional second time as well.
The horse you've picked that I have third is a very interesting
Oh,
horse because, well, she's a Jekyll and Hyde, right?
She is. Yeah, she comes in off of a layoff. I saw her at Tampa last time in the Gasparilla, and at a big price, like I just remember looking at her and saying, she doesn't look that bad. I wonder if she's going to run today, and she didn't run at all.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
Not a step. So she's had some time off. She looks like she's working sharp up in Saratoga. I know they really liked her first time out, and she ran well.
She ran really
Just
well.
What do you get from her today?
Excuse me, I don't know. You know, she's a tough read in here
She
because
is.
she started out her career like the best horse in the
Yeah.
race.
She ran
And
fourth in the
I'll tell you something
Frazette.
else.
Yeah.
I would say this is a general concept. I would keep your eye on Gary Contessa firsters in Saratoga. You know, 2 years ago he won 2 races to meet, the Hopeful and the firster that won the Schuylerville. He had at least 2 firsters win it last year, right? He had this horse and he had a
This
turf
horse?
horse
There was
win.
another,
I think he had a
yes.
turf firster
Yes.
win. So keep your eye on Gary. I know he's not winning a ton of races. He's not running that many horses, but he's been live with firsters up there.
Absolutely.
I agree. This horse is going to go either way.
I know.
This horse either just can't run at
I
all
know.
anymore, or is
One or the other.
hugely competitive in
Yeah.
here. Feasible. I actually bet Vanished in Feasible's win at Keeneland. I'm glad the horse didn't get second. I think it was Vanished, I bet. I know he bet some price horse. And this horse ran very well,
did.
then came here in a much tougher spot going a mile. I think Feasible is very dangerous as an
I
alternative.
think she's interesting too. If she runs anything like she did in that race at Keeneland, I think she's a huge player in here. She was a big price first time
She had
out.
no shot last time.
No shot last time, but she did show some speed,
Right.
which I appreciate.
She didn't do no running in there. I agree. And a little love for Fernando claiming the 5. That's funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think she's necessarily that good, but she's a horse.
Who
that-
is?
Exactly. There's not much to really trust and sink your teeth into.
If he
in
can
here.
move her up a little bit, she could absolutely contend. The 8th race, I think, it's either an incredibly uninteresting race
I know.
or an interesting race because I have some real reservations about Alamara, and I wanted to show her last race at Keeneland because, I don't expect Chad Brown horses to hang. And she hung.
Yeah.
She got a great ride in this race from Flavian, and she just didn't
did.
finish.
She did. Now, it's interesting. I had a thought about the blinkers coming off because I remember Flavian telling Miguel once about a horse that was wearing blinkers. He said, I think you should take the blinkers off. It was Tawny Port, actually. And he said, I think you should take the blinkers off so you can see the horses around him because he's hanging a little bit. He's not kicking on. And I'm wondering if Flavian said something similar about this because the blinkers come right back on because typically you'd think blinkers would help for a horse that doesn't kick on late.
Right.
But sometimes they do need to see their competition.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering,
I don't
once
know if
again,
that's the case,
why
I'm just
Flavian's
curious.
not riding, because he
Right.
was supposed to be riding in the stake races at
Yeah.
Penn National, so don't think there's anything up there.
Right.
I know this horse has enough pedigree to say it could go long. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, this horse scares me at a mile and 3/8. She may just be
I
that much
agree.
better than these. In the last race, Mystifying, obviously, had an incident. And she's
Mm-hmm.
talented, who ran second. Expensive Queen. Oh, you know what? I don't like the horse that Miguel has that ran 5th in there and came back and ran lousy up in Saratoga. I want to say she's a French horse that we thought was interesting in a race here. I think she's a horse that was scratched when Christophe passed away, and then she came back at Saratoga. Yes, yeah. She really didn't run well up there at all out of that race.
Very tough.
Okay.
She's very tough to handle. She's a lot of talent. She's just tough to handle.
The problem also is, I'm not saying you copped out in any way, but Alomar is a bit of a cop out. She's got a figure that overlays the field.
I'll own it.
No, I
copped
don't,
out.
and I'm, but she's
But
3 to 5 morning
through-
line. It's
I
Chad.
went through and I was like, I don't know.
It's very hard to
else
like anybody.
pick.
I agree.
It's hard to really like anybody.
Lena's a little hard to like, even for wise guy Roy Lehrman. Torjate, I'll show her big win here. And she got a fast pace. She ran a brilliant race. I mean, she was wide all the way around the track. She didn't come back and ran to it. She's a little interesting, but why am I supposed to be so confident that she's going to get a 1:03 ace?
That's my biggest question with her. I don't know if longer is really better. She's also a very high energy horse, so I kind of have a little bit of concern about that. The horse you landed on, Gold Lightning, I feel like is kind of the other one.
That's what I thought.
She just is not a winning type either.
No,
to be
she's
fair.
not. She's not a winning type. She's no superstar. But I will say she ran well enough in her first race on a dry track on the dirt for Linda to suggest that she still has some form because she's meant for turf. And you know, I don't, that Momo Candy Dancing Dean race, she had no chance in that race that was wired a mile and 3/16. I'm not convinced she couldn't be the one, and I'm going to try to guess and hope that maybe she's the one that wants to go longer. I don't have much confidence. She's the second likely winner. I be honest with you, I even gave Bobby Jean a long look in here because she, I mean, good trip or not last time, she really improved on the turf.
She did. She did. I had actually written down in the past with early on, she'd run in all those off-the-turf races, and I kept saying, like, oh, I can't wait till she gets to try the grass. But she'd run well, so I understand why Mark kept her on the dirt over the winter.
I feel like you or Maggie were in the paddock and you liked this horse a little bit. Maybe
I
I'm wrong.
wasn't here last time.
So maybe it was
probably
Maggie.
But I had notes from last August saying looks like turf horse. So I'm sure, you know, usually we have similar opinions on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
But yeah, I mean, she improved. The question is, how good is she really?
And does she want to go a mile and 3 ace? I don't know. I just, maybe I'm making it too complicated, and maybe Alomar is just better than these horses and she'll win for fun, which she probably will. I'm not ready to buy into it. I love the last race today. I think this is a super fun race. Now, we'll start out with the horses that you have 1-2 coming out of that race at Pimlico, and we're going to take slightly different opinions here. We've sort of flip-flopped our picks in this race, and I'll let you talk about this race. I kind of want to see it again.
I do
at
too.
6 furlongs.
I do too. The reason I slightly preferred Lady Doro out of this race, who finished second behind Mendrell, they both ran good figures in there. But Mendrell was a horse who was forwardly placed, and she was. It's interesting. Short comment says unruly. She was not easy to handle, I guess, early on. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. The comments down there sometimes make my head spin.
I'm not sure what that means, but that being said, I know it was a 40,000 race, but Lady Doro has races on the go back that would kind of match up to that, whereas I thought Mendrell kind of had that one singular race on the turf that she'd have to repeat.
It's her only turf start, and maybe she's a good turf sprinter. They got to go from 5 to 6. My feeling was that I thought there were more interesting things going on in this race, and I don't know if I've landed on them correctly or not, but I'll start with Bam's Bliss Kiss, who I have on top.
I think she's super interesting getting back to turf.
What is wrong with this horse's first race on the turf? I thought this horse ran really well first time out of the turf. Now, there's other speed, so I don't know what kind of trip she can work out, but that race was kind of falling apart. It's probably the best race she's run. She's also improved as a racehorse since then, and I'm not sure she's just not getting back to the right surface.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think she's really interesting for Dave Duggan, and she
she's
has
gonna be a
that
price.
lone turf. She does. She has that lone turf start, and as you said, she has improved. She's also been running against some really tough company.
2 straight races on a wet track that she may not particularly love. You look at the 4 dirt races on dry tracks for it. 3 of them are very good. I think she's very interesting. I also think that La Grotte, now I wish I didn't keep getting horse with sort of outside posts here, but I want to look at La Grotte's one turf race, which was at Monmouth, and it's one of 2 actually. The other one was the horse's debut actually, and didn't run very well. But I got to tell you something. I thought this race at Monmouth, and I know it was a mile and 16th, was actually pretty good. I mean, the winner's no killer, but she was the speed in the race. The horse who was third was a Safi Joseph horse who was 4 to 5 in here, Oive. And I think this is kind of might be a smart move by Ray.
She has a big
Claiming
turf
and going back.
pedigree, too.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if this might be what she wanted to do all along, and she's going to be a price.
No, I agree. There was a sibling who was a 2-time turf winner. I actually love Bolt Doros sprinting on the turf.
Well, we got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that both of them potentially are interesting. And,
Totally agree.
going to the horses, I'm not taking, what is it?
Cedar Cat?
Cedar Cat, claimed by Gary. I don't know. This horse has to improve, I
found
thought,
her
anyway,
tough
to
to
be
trust.
competitive in here. I thought this race had some possible horses at prices that had a chance to get a piece.
Yeah, and last time was the time for Lina Wright, as much as I love her.
Coming up the rail. Strong rally up the rail. I saw Dave Dock actually after the race. He would say that Kendrick was yelling at somebody in front of him, "Get out of the way."
Yep.
The rail might have been an advantage that day. Anyway, a fun card today. Enjoyed talking about it. Appreciate you guys watching. Head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code bonus 200 will match the $200 of your initial
Spa's
deposit.
coming
I
soon.
know. I was thinking Spa 200. Head on over to NairaBets.com. Contest, NairaBets.com/contest. You have till post time tomorrow. $300 buy-in. Blah, 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 blah. Get the info. Play it through Naira Bets. A good contest. A lot of fun. I have a number of friends who play in those contests all the time. Cross Country Pick 5. They will not be on the show, though. Starts at 3:38. After we're on, 2 at Belmont at the Big A at Aqueduct here, 3 at Monmouth Park. And last but not least, 2:30 to 3:30 on FS2. Acacia, Greg and I will be in the desk. Maggie in the paddock. Acacia and I will do Prattles in the first few races. Greg and Maggie will finish the day off. Thanks for watching. Chris Griffin's up next. Reprise, scratches and changes.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member.